This is going to be a quick introduction to schematic HMI panels and how to work on those. It's going to be a really brief introduction because doing programming on HMI panels is pretty involved. So it's just how to get started with a panel like that. It's the same as in the compendium. It's here down in chapter 5. So we're just going to look at the figures, talk most about the figure. Insert a panel into your project. That's the first thing that you have to do. And it can be added in several ways. But just look at how to add a device, which is just look at the have files. So when you have done that, you have to configure your device, and what you have to configure is IP addresses, because it's going to communicate with a PLC on one or more PLCs, and it needs an IP address. So at least you have to do that. And then what you have to do is to set up or set up the communication between your panel and your PLCs. That can be done in network view. This is best done in network view in TI Porter like this. This has been shown in an earlier video how to do this. Okay, so if we go back to, you have to do the connections. But what you can do with a panel, that's a device configuration, network, and so on, your online diagnostic, runtime center, whatever. What you can do is you make screens, and a screen is a picture that you display on your panel, displaying information. And the screen management we're not going to talk about. HMI tags, the tags, those are values or variables that you want to display on your screens, and these variables, they are collected from PLCs, or written to PLC if you want to do a command from your panel. Push on a button should start a motor in the PLC. So that's through tags here. And an important issue or an important item for all control are exceptions or alarms. Something is not going according to plan. We have to tell our operator that something is not going according to plan. And you can use tags in the PLC to trigger an alarm that goes into what we call an alarm list, a list over the exceptions or alarms that you have in your system. The alarm measuring system for the HMI panel from Siemens, they are not really good, but you can use them. Yes, recipes are special. That's for, let's say, food production. We make a recipe. We want to make breads, and we want a little yeast and a little water and some flour and whatever, and different types of whatever we have, milk or water or something. And those are, and the amount they put into recipes. It's just a recipe in the kitchen. The PLC says, okay, add this much water, this much yeast, and so on, and then I mix this, and I have a bread dough, and I make bread afterwards. Historical data is data from history that has happened, and you have task and text and graphic lists. Those are text lists. There's a list with text that say, okay, for instance, they have a value in the PLC. There's a number from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2, and when it's 0, it should display one text. When it's 1, it should display another text, and number 2 should display a third text. And I put those into text lists. A graphic list are small icons that put in a list. So with a value 0, I show this icon, or 1, I show this icon, value 2, I show this icon. And then you can make dynamic screens. Numbers and stuff that you can put on the screen, they, of course, they change. So that was PLC interconnection. Here we got the tag editor that you open when you open the tags. Then you get a list here. And here are your name of your tags, and then over here is the PLC tag. What is the corresponding tag in the PLC. You don't have, when you have done this and you load your panel, the communication is automatically stored in firmware in the panel, so it will go and get this information out to the PLC. And here is how often you want to do this. Those are the tags and tags. It's also possible to use drag and drop between the PLC tag table and the HMI tag table, or a PLC data block and the HMI tag table. Yeah. Then we have the screens. And here is where you do your programming or configuration of your HMI panel. It's really involved. So here just something, just look at when you do something like this. Red color is only for faults, because the red color, it's an abnormal condition, exception. Something has gone wrong. And then you use neutral colors. That's easy on your eye and something like that. Not, let's say, screaming colors. That don't use them. Use icons, because an icon is a small picture. It tells you a lot more than a text. The text, you need to read it, decode it, understand what it says, and act accordingly. So these are just general tips. Not too much information on a single screen. You can have a lot of screens in here. I think up here, what we have, if you look, there are 3 screens or displays. So don't overpopulate your screens. And then have a main screen. If you have more screens, a main screen where you navigate to sub-screens, and maybe you have some important information on the navigation screens. Yeah, and here in this Matic HMI panel, you can have a global view on top where you can put this navigation and stuff, and also what you call super important information. So, yeah, binary information, an image or something that changes on a Boolean HMI tag. Yeah. For integer values, you can use text or graphic list, as I talked about. For numbers that are numbers, 0.5, you have to display 0.5. And also use units. Always use units if it's degree centigrade or degree Fahrenheit or millibar or whatever you have. Display that. So those are general. So what you do when you work on this is, here is just a sample picture, sample display. So here's what you can work on. This is a basic panel. If you have a more advanced panel, you can have more things to work on. Let's say what we have here is, this is an image. This is also an image showing a car. This is an intersection. And these are detectors. Let's say if you have a detector in the lane here, if it's true, the cars pop up. If not, the cars don't show. So it's binary. So you don't show an image or not. The lights, they work a little different. When the light is not on, it's gray. And when the red light is on, then you change the appearance, like down here, and make it red. And so on. And that's how you can work. And here are some numbers up here, and here are screen navigation, and so on. Yeah, here are the alarms. This is just quick on how you configure alarms. You have an alarm editor where you write the alarm text and stuff, what text you want to show in your list on this exception. It's not particularly good. Recipes, text and graphic lists, I talked a little about those. And then we could use administration. If you have a panel, it's not on here, but not everyone should be able to go to this panel, operate on your process. At least you should log on and have some user administration. So look into that with a password. So if you log on, at least ask for a password or something like that. It depends upon where the panel is located. If the panel is located in an area where only trained personnel has access, that maybe you don't need passwords. But think about it. In all panels, they have this possibility. So that was a quick walkthrough how to work or program an HMI panel. This is really involved, how to do it. But even with the schematic panels, the basic panels, with a little indue, if you're a little clever, do a little clever configuration, you can make a lot of nice screens of mimics on a schematic panel. A quick one, really quick one in production.